Kyle. And next we have Dr. Alice Gruber from the University of Applied Sciences. So we actually do have a pretty international group today from Heilbronn.
That's right.
And, oh, good. And Dr. Regina Kaplan-Rakowski from the University of North Texas. And their talk is on virtual reality lowers foreign language anxiety.
Well, that's right. So, Alice, don't you feel a little bit nervous?
I do.
I'm like shaking and sweating. I guess why? I guess we are speaking in public, right? We have public in front of us. Not only is it like kind of an anxiety-driven moment, we also speak in a foreign language for us. So that's like a double anxiety. And so being concerned about the fact that a lot of people, possibly everyone, has some type of public speaking anxiety, and especially in a foreign language, we thought, well, we know that VR has a lot of power, and a lot of studies document that VR has this potential to help people cope with anxieties, with phobias and traumas. We thought that we will take this one step and create a study that will test that anxiety and how, for example, practicing foreign language in virtual reality could help people with lowering that anxiety. So here's Alice and I. We met at a conference several years ago, and we started doing all these fun projects. And
we can't see the PowerPoint.
Oh.
Well, I can't.
All right. Can you see the screen now?
Yep.
Okay, well, I guess I was so anxious and nervous and whatever else that I didn't even think about sharing the screen because I see it. Okay, but anyway, so that's what I was saying, that that whole idea is driven by the fact that a lot of people have those tensions when they have to speak in public. So I was saying that with Alice, we met several years ago. We started all these different studies, and we are going to report on one given that we only have 7 minutes, probably now about 6. That adds a little bit more to the anxiety, but let me ask Alice to talk a little bit about our methodology first.
Right, so we had 20 students at the German university who participated in our study. They were all learners of English, and 12 students presented in VR and 8 students in Zoom. They had 2 topics each. One topic was always different because it was meant to be unexpected and it was meant to induce foreign language speaking anxiety. The other topic was constant throughout the sessions and was meant to create less anxiety. Students had 2 minutes per topic, and they participated in 4 sessions each, resulting in 80 presentations in total. Our instruments were demographic questionnaire. We had a straight and trait questionnaire, foreign language anxiety questionnaire based on Horwitz and et al. 1986. And we have video and audio recordings, semi-structured interviews, and biometric data.
That's right, 80 presentations. That's quite a bit, no? And Alice just mentioned that we had a special tool to measure anxiety, and that's Empatica E4. Empatica E4 is a type of wearable that when you put it on your wrist, it will detect your electrodermal activity, meaning it will detect how much sweat, basically the readings of your sweat and heartbeat and all these other biometrics that allow researchers figure out about your state. Are you aroused? Are you nervous? Are you engaged? So we use that for our study. And as far as the study design, you can see we started with different types of questionnaires. We ended the study with interviews. In the meantime, we had 4 sessions, and these are indicated with the red rectangles. I didn't know it was so hard to pronounce the red rectangles. That's a different thing. The white arrows indicate pre-tests, pre-anxiety states. The pink arrows indicate post-anxiety states, and the spaces in between is where the students were giving those presentations. And Alice will tell us about the virtual classroom.
So here you can see the virtual classroom with the virtual humans that we used. They were pre-programmed to make movements such as nodding. And basically the researcher was able to take over one of the virtual human of her choice with the help of a motion tracking camera. And that projected the researcher's movement onto the virtual human. Next one.
Oh, I'm speaking. Okay, so so the previous slide was what the students were able to see in the headset, but here we have a little video of one of the subjects that actually was wearing the headset, and we can see. I hope it's gonna work. We'll see if you look at his the way he's moving, his hands and everything. You can imagine that he really sees somebody else in that headset. And he's giving that speech. Let's see a little bit of that, hopefully. Well, that's just a little tiny. We don't have time for that. But as you see, he doesn't even know he's moving around. I guess it goes back to Randall talking about his knees being bruised whenever he is wearing a headset. We lose the consciousness of what's happening in our real life, right? Anyway, so that was the sample of the subject. And
yeah, the Zoom sessions, they were scheduled individually, and the students completed the questionnaires beforehand and after the session. And the questionnaires were adapted for the video conferencing setting.
Here we go, and that's basically, so we are basically comparing the two types of learners, the ones presenting in VR and in front of that virtual audience, and the ones presenting in Zoom. And our research questions, we had three main research questions. The first one was, is practicing speaking in VR associated with lower foreign language anxiety scores? The second question was asking about the subject's perceptions of practicing public speaking. And the third question had to do with that wearable, but seeing if the questionnaires that we had that were just self-reflections of their state versus what our body could tell. And as far as the quantitative analysis, basically testing the effectiveness of practicing speaking in VR versus Zoom. We had lots of data. We had to code it, and reverse code it, then make it into dummy variables, all these things. I ran multiple regression models that provided us with the main finding that, in fact, the VR participants were associated with statistically lower anxiety scores compared to the Zoom participants. So, in other words, in this case, VR won. It's not the outcome of every study I do, unfortunately, but here that's what we found. And let's look at some qualitative data. As qualitative analysis, I think we'll go very briefly through that.
So the interviews were based on 4 questions. We wanted to know how the participants perceived the audience, whether they perceived them as a people with emotions. We wanted to know whether they thought the audience behaved the way they expected it to. We asked, did the scenario feel somehow real to them? And we asked them how they felt whilst talking.
So if you're curious the answers to these questions, we don't have time to tell you that, but we already actually published the qualitative analysis in a little book chapter at the beginning of last year, before the world changed. So we'll be able to you'll be happy to share that chapter with you. And just as a conclusion, VR works for lowering anxiety, at least in our case, in our settings. VR also creates a sense of presence. That's really nothing new, right? And also possibility illusion. So the idea that you know it's not real, but it really feels real. Another thing, VR is, so that's an interesting finding. VR is better than the mirror when practicing public speaking. Maybe just one sentence about it. I don't know if Alice, you want to say, or I can say. We didn't prepare to talk about this, but it's too exciting not to share. It's basically one of the, actually several participants expressed that when they would prefer to practice in VR rather than in front of the mirror, because when you practice speaking in front of the mirror, you keep getting distracted by your own, okay, does my hair look right? Whatever else, other things, you're looking at yourself. So they found it very distracting. So in other words, VR works better because you're not looking at yourself. You're actually doing the work. You're looking at the potential audience. And the last thing, VR is motivating and engaging. Well, that's kind of old news too, but we thought we'd bring it to kind of reinforce our case. I guess that's it. I don't know if it was 7 or 17 minutes, but the whole event is great. So that feels like I could do it every day and listen to you guys. So here are contact information if anybody wants to talk to us. And thank you for organizing. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much.